Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier, and this is the third most popular question on your source paper. But I feel it's the most important presentation in my series. Why? Because all the source questions require you to interpret the message, or more often than not, the messages. So this should prove especially useful to you. I certainly hope so. Now, a few things to say at the beginning. Probably repeating what I've said in similar presentations, but there's absolutely no harm in that. These message questions nearly always use a cartoon, and cartoons are best read from the outside inwards. That way, you're not likely to miss anything. Also, always look for a big message and sub-messages. They will be there, and you'll only get full marks if you cover both. The big question is usually the overall impression the source gives. The sub-messages come from the details. And something to say about this question. What impressions does this source give of the Treaty of Versailles? Explain your answer using details of the source and your own knowledge, with 7 marks. Note the word impressions. Impressions can only come from the messages in the cartoon. I've deliberately used one of these impressions questions to get that point across. Note also the instruction to explain your answer using details of the source. I know it's obvious, but my response is that why then do students every year ignore it? And note the 7 marks. All these questions are 7 to 8 marks until you get to the last one, the big one. So be clear about how much is needed to get those marks. So let's get to the messages in this source, a well-known source too, used in many a textbook. Reading from the outside in, we see that it's a British cartoon, published on May the 7th, 1919. So, as I pointed out in my How Useful video, this is the very day the Germans received their copy of the treaty. And as I said in that other video, you should be aware that they must have received the terms sometime in May. And if you weren't, well, you are now. So that's good. Now, you're already told what the tag means. So use it. A toast to when Germany would begin a victorious war against Britain. So that should get you thinking that this source is hardly sympathetic to the Germans. No matter what the sub-messages might tell you, it's having a dig at them. Moving into the source itself, the big hand on the left representing the Allies, including the British Empire, squeezing the life out of a little Germany, defeated and now diminished from the great power it had been, holds a sub-message for you. Lloyd George had said he'd squeeze Germany until the pipsqueak. Don't forget to use your own knowledge. And there are clues there to identify Germany. He's wearing military boots and has some sort of military cap, and there is a bandage on his head. Now, I think these things are hard to see, even though you will get a big version of the cartoon on the exam paper. But so long as you identify the poor man as Germany, that will suffice, I think. And what's happening to him? He's being forced, note that word, forced, to swallow the peace terms, represented as a pill that is really too big for him to swallow. Those terms are seen by the cartoonist as too much for Germany to bear. Another sub-message for you. So let's move to the right of the cartoon. And here we have the big four, and you could identify them: Wilson, Clemenceau, Orlando and Lloyd George, though I don't think you have to get full marks. But there's a few sub-messages to pick up. They are the ones forcing the pill down the throat of Germany. They're saying, you've got to swallow it, whether you like it or not. So the message is that they are dictating the terms of the treaty. Germany is being given no choice but to swallow the pill. And 3 of them are standing on the pillbox that's worth millions, a reference to the reparations Germany is being forced to pay. So we have sub-messages that actually give the impression of being critical of the treaty. Germany is defeated, a diminished power. The peace terms are being forced on Germany. It is a diktat. Those terms are going to be hard for Germany to bear. And you have a specific reference to the reparations. But the big message is that yes, the terms of the treaty are harsh, but in fact they're fair. The key is the reference to der Tag. German officers used to drink to the day when they would begin a victorious war against Britain. You're told that. Well, they were to blame for that war, but they lost and now have to pay the price. Now the mark scheme allows for 4 to 6 marks for the critical impressions I've identified, if they are supported with explanations and references to the source, with the 7th mark for that big message, again supported with an explanation and a reference to the source. Listen to what the examiner's report says. To perform well on this question, it was crucial that candidates made a clear reference to the source, and that this served to support the inferred impression. I'll end by highlighting another theme of this little series. This is a friendly paper for you. Explaining those sub-messages will earn you 6 marks, an A*, but you have to look carefully at a source for full marks. Now I'm saying this throughout this series on past treaty source questions. I have 18 past papers on the Treaty of Versailles and the Paris Peace Conference as a whole, plus their mark schemes, plus the examiner's reports. The more you practice past source questions, the better you will be in that exam hall. And it's the kind of thing we can do in tutorials. If you've been listening to my videos, you know the drill. Get your parents to contact me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you for listening and wish you the very best of luck in your studies. Cheers.